In the next featured fight on the card, Ovince St. Preux fought against Marcos Rogerio de Lima. This was the second fight in a row where de Lima missed weight at 205, or again, it would be the 206 limit for him since it's a non-title fight. It looks as though if he's going to stay in the UFC, which I think is a little questionable at this point based off of how this fight went, it'll be at heavyweight. But again, UFC is having trouble with their heavyweight division as far as depth goes, so perhaps he could be lucky in that if you're going to move into any division after a loss, heavyweight might be the one just because there's such a lack of talented guys up there. But he fought against Ovince St. Preux, who was coming off of a 3-fight losing streak on his own right. It was interesting to kind of see how this fight was going to go for OSP. You weren't sure if the loss to John Jones and maybe even the injuries that he suffered in there were going to just kind of derail him all the way down. It was good for him that he was able to get a win here. There were some good striking exchanges from him. But ultimately, when this fight got to the ground and it got to a finish, again, so here's what's interesting. In general, in MMA, especially at the highest levels, if you're getting caught in a Von Flue choke, it's really a bad sign on you, because to get caught in a Von Flue choke, in most cases, and in this case, for example, it's because you're going for a guillotine choke when you don't have it, and instead of making a proper adjustment, you keep holding it for who knows what reason. Now, with a lot of guys in the UFC, when you're at that level, a lot of these guys are really well conditioned, and when you're in the training room, sometimes you can hold guillotines from bad positions, and your squeeze is so tight that either the guy you're rolling with just kind of waits it out and really just kind of stalls it out and doesn't do anything, or maybe it's even effective against them. But when you're at the highest level in the UFC, it's not going to work like that. You can't just use what's essentially just a shitty headlock from when the guy's on the wrong side of you and expect to hold on to it and expect for that to actually lead anywhere positive for you. Especially when you're fighting a guy like OSP, where you've seen him hit the Von Flue choke a couple of times already. You have to know that you're going for the guillotine. The second he starts passing your guard to the opposite side, Von Flue choke's coming. You got to let go. And I mean, really, you should be letting go anyway and trying to adjust and get your guard back. If he's going to half guard, at least try to lock down the half guard. And at that point, your far side to the side, the arm, let's just say that he's passing to the right side, for example. So if OSP's head is on my left and his body is passing to my right, and I keep a hold of that choke, I'm going to be open to the Von Flue choke. But if I hold the choke anyway, and let's just say I even catch him in half guard and I'm still have my arm around his neck, that's really not ideal for me. In half guard, where I want to be is I want to have the far side underhook, which would be my left arm, or the choking arm in this case, and I want to be up on my side. And depending on how you're trying to finish your guillotine choke, and especially in a case like this where Ovince St. Preux is driving into him, you're definitely not getting the far side underhook because you're using it to hook the neck. And getting up on your side, I mean, maybe you're trying to cut an angle from there, but even then, that's probably even worse for you in order to finish the choke. So either way, your next step is to let go and try to work from there, work into some kind of half guard position. Maybe if he's already getting past, then get in a defensive position where you can kind of work your way out. But to just hang on to the choke, it's not a good move, especially when you know what your opponent can do. De Lima held on to it anyway. OSP was near the fence. I mean, OSP could finish you with a Von Flue choke even if he was in the middle of the mat, but when he's up against the fence and he has a chance to drive off of it, it's a bad position to be in. And De Lima got caught, he got finished. And for OSP, with this being a choke that he's hit so many times, part of it you kind of have to wonder if it's one of those things where, you know, sometimes maybe you do hold on to that choke a little bit longer than necessary, but usually guys aren't quick enough or aren't like sharp enough to be able to catch you with it, where OSP, like, your margin for error is smaller. But either way, good for OSP to get another win by Von Flue choke. You can definitely tell he's looking for it, and you can definitely tell it's a choke that he's really mastered well. And for De Lima, and I guess really for anyone who's going to fight OSP in the future, if you're going for a guillotine on him, you really want to make sure you secure the far side so he can't pass there anyway. But if he does pass, you better be ready to let go quick.